What is up, you guys? So, you have no idea how many times I've tried to sit down and record this. I was just getting interrupted so many times. Hello?
Hello.
Hey mom, I'm filming a video. Can I call you back?
Yeah.
I'm giving relationship advice.
What's relationship advice?
That is really mean. I've been married for 3 years now and I know what I'm talking about. I'm a connoisseur. I want you to think about this moment when the option of putting you in a nursing home comes up, okay? What is up? How are you? How is your sanity? How are things? Before I get started, I do want to say I am wearing pants, well, biker shorts, which, I mean, it's 2020. They're kind of considered pants. But I just wanted to give my legs a chance to be shown off because I shaved my legs in one shower sitting. And if you don't know, that is a huge accomplishment for women everywhere in the world. I know, we're doing big things in this household. I'm also wearing fuzzy socks that my mom got me. These are hella comfortable. A couple days ago was my 3-year wedding anniversary. Yes, I know. He decided to stay 3 years, but if he ever does decide to leave, I will refer him to one of you ladies, so just be patient. You guys are always sliding into my DMs, by the way. Follow me on the gram if you haven't. What are you doing with your life? You know, you guys oftentimes DM me asking me questions and advice, which why you think I'm certified enough to give advice, I have no idea, but nonetheless, I'm very grateful and honored. And I went on my Instagram and my YouTube community post and I was just like, you know, drop some questions that you would like the lovely Slim to give you advice on, because I know everything and I am very smart. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm basing my advice based on my past experiences. You know, hopefully it works for you, but like, I'm not a licensed or certified therapist, so don't come for me if anything goes wrong. Okay, let's just begin. I feel like this intro is already too long. Alright, first question. How to make a relationship work with 2 completely different personalities or energy? Well, I think if at the core of your relationship are similar morals and values, then I think in terms of like personalities and energy, you should be compatible enough to, you know, play off of each other. Like Dan and I have different personalities, but at the core of our relationship, we have similar morals and values and we play off of each other's like personalities. I feel like we complement each other's personalities. I feel like that's a better way to say it. Like he's more like, and I'm more like, yeah, let's have fun, like let's do stupid things. Would he ever do things that embarrass him publicly? No, but he loves to enjoy watching me be weird and silly and stuff like that, and it makes for a very fun relationship. Just if you're able to vibe it out, you know. I don't know if that makes any sense. I feel like honestly sometimes being different in personalities, it makes things fun. It keeps things spicy a little bit, so yeah. How did you decide to get married, or did he propose? Well, he proposed, which is what made me say yes. But we both went into the relationship with the intention of wanting something very serious, and obviously like getting married is probably as serious as it gets in terms of a relationship. So we went into the relationship with that intent, and we talked about it prior to even just dating, and then revisited that conversation months later, and then months after that he surprised me with a freaking ring, you know? Have you ever had to deal with long distance? If so, any advice? How do you know when it's worth it? I personally never have dealt with long distance, but from what I could gather from other people's experiences, that communication is freaking key. Like for some people, I feel like it's hard enough to communicate when they're in the same room. Then I think it's that much more important to communicate, be open and honest when you're abroad. And is it probably a lot more difficult? Yeah, but I think in terms of, you know, you have to decide whether that relationship is worth it. I feel like everybody's different. Like if Dan and I were long distance, I would think it's worth it because of how I feel for him and I love him, but I think communicating to the best of your abilities is key. How to keep a marriage exciting during quarantine? How do you keep things spicy in the bedroom? Oh, wow. That's a very interesting question. You can tell that I don't know how to act because I literally, listen, I shaved below and above my knees. Well, I mean, that means you shaved your whole leg, stupid. I shaved above my knee. Like, do you know what it means when a woman shaves above her knees? We barely, for the most part, grow hair up here, but to shave the whole leg? Like, do you know what that means? So I will take any chance to show them off. Okay, anyways, back to the question. Honestly, I feel like because we're in one space and we're looking at each other every single freaking day, making the conscious effort to do certain activities, so we'll work out together, we'll have game night, we'll cook together and do stuff like that instead of just like sitting in front of the TV and just hanging out. We try to make do with what we have, so that way not only are we bored in the house, we're not bored with each other. And I think in terms of keeping it a little spicy in the bedroom, just add a little Tabasco, you know, a little adobo in the bed. That was a stupid joke even as I felt it come out my mouth. But honestly, like, you know, I feel like, I'm not saying that Dan and I do this, but I feel like you can dress up, you know, dress up, play out some fantasies. I don't know, like, maybe he could be Santa, you can be his little ho ho ho. Communicate, maybe you want to do some, you know, fun stuff like fantasies and such. I don't know. How can I fully be content with being by myself before I consider dating? Before you consider dating anybody else, consider dating yourself. Put yourself out there in terms of like, why don't you take yourself out? Why don't you do activities with yourself, things that you might have always wanted to do to help really discover what you love, what you like, not only about yourself, but other activities. I feel like that helps with the journey of like self-love, which Lord knows is a long and hard journey, but it's also worth it. Honestly, that'll make it easier for when you do start dating other people, so that way you can just weed out the ones that really are not compatible to you, instead of you being maybe confused and settled because you may not know what you want yourself. I don't know if that made any sense. Like, things make sense up here, but like sometimes I can't like compute it and just bring it out here, you know? It takes a while to be fully content with yourself sometimes, and like even me, I am still on the journey of self-love and like finding stuff about myself, but you know, it's all in due time. Is that the saying? What do you think is most important, respect or love? Well, I think if someone loves you unconditionally, respect is just something that comes with it. I think, why do you have to choose? Why can't you have both? You are worthy enough to have both. And like I said, I feel like if the love is real and unconditional, respect comes along with it. And that's on what? My shaved legs. I'm annoying. Advice on dating more than one guy, but letting them all know it's how you're trying to find the one. Be honest, be open about what you're trying to do and, you know, how you're trying to go about things, because I feel like, what if they find out and then they feel like it's sketchy and they've gotten their feelings invested and you would have lost an opportunity with someone who might have been the one. I think honesty is always the best policy, and I feel like it's the norm nowadays to date more than one person. Some people don't like that. I mean, that's not for me, but I would probably, okay, let me adjust. I would say just be 100% open and honest. How do you approach cultural and racial differences that others may not understand? Well, as you all know, my husband is of the mayonnaise and rhythmically challenged species. He's Caucasian. Kidding, somebody out there is gonna be like, why do Caucasians have to be rhythmically challenged? It was a joke, calm down. For those of you who don't know, Dan is white European and I am African. And do we come from different cultures? Yes. Racially, are we different? Absolutely. But I think the best thing that has been for us is to showcase our cultures and, you know, just talk about the racial differences so that we both understand and gain perspective on both of our cultures and both of our racial, I guess, disparities sometimes. And for me, like, Dan would always talk about how, you know, his culture is in Serbia and everything, but I never really got to understand it and feel it until I actually experienced it. So I think definitely showing people where you come from and how, you know, things, the world, society might affect you, or rather affect your culture and racial differences really do help. Like, at the end of the day, Dan is a 6'3" white man with green eyes, and he is, I guess what society would deem the ideal human being, and I am an African Black Muslim woman in America, so you can tell, you can see where there's a difference. We realize that we come from different like cultures and like racial backgrounds. However, at the end of the day, the common ground is that we are human beings. We are humans. We are human beings. And I mean, if you can bridge the gap between the racial and cultural differences that way, I feel like it makes it easier to understand the different cultures and racial differences. I don't know if that makes any sense. Essentially, instead of looking at those differences in a negative way, which I feel like it's much easier than understanding, just like I think showing and getting to know someone as a human being is a really good way to get somebody to understand cultural differences and racial differences. Have you ever had to deal with insecurities, and how do you get over it? Well, yes, like every other human being, I've had to deal with insecurities, and how I got over them, honestly, is just realizing that at the end of the day, like there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with, you know, the way I look, because I feel like in today's day and age, like there's a certain type of like way to look or way to act, and I see it a lot on Instagram. I see it a lot on like social media platforms, like, and just over time, like there's always going to be a certain way society deems appropriate to look or act, and it's always going to change. It's always going to evolve, and like I just felt like my insecurities stemmed of the thoughts and opinions and judgments of others. Like I'll be damned if somebody's gonna tell me how I should look or how I should feel about myself. Like I feel like I really got over my insecurities by learning how to really honestly truly love myself and value myself as a human being, and stopped placing that value in the hands of other people and in society, because society will say, hey, you know, you gotta look like a racially ambiguous woman with a small nose and full lips and big boobs and a small waist and a fat juicy booty. And you know what? Some of us have the chest of a 9-year-old boy, and it's okay. I honestly wanted to do this advice video with like a glass of wine or something, but I have just been so bloated lately, and that is not the move. How to behave on a first date, sis. Be yourself. Be yourself. Don't put on an act. Why put on an act? Because what if you get in a relationship and you can't continue the act, and it's just like, oh shit, this is not, you know, how this person is in said relationship. Be yourself. Have fun. Like, you want somebody to be attracted to you, the real you. So do you, boo boo. How long should you date before marriage? I feel like that's entirely up to you. Like, you know when you're ready, whether it's a couple of months, whether it's a couple of years, you know. I think for me it took, like, honestly, well, I feel like I just knew when we first started dating because we were talking for a while or whatever, but I just knew in my heart, like I felt it, and Dayon knew as well. So he sounds, you know, he says he knew I was the one, so he was just like, I'm ready to go, you know, like whenever you are. And I was like, oh my god, I know you're the one, so we should just do it. Let's just pull the trigger. Let's just do it. Are there things about marriage that are way different than you expected? Yes. Rule number 1, don't ever play me. Is that how the lyrics go? First thing that I realize is how selfless you have to be in a marriage. Like, I'm not saying I'm a selfish person and it's all about me, but realizing that when I make a decision, it not only affects me, but it also affects my partner. So now when I think about doing something, whether it's big or small, sometimes I'm like, how will it affect Dayon? Also, I feel like our marriage is different than what I expected to be because we are of a different race. I just didn't expect to get treated differently by other people because of the race of my spouse, and I don't know if I should go in deeper, but I just didn't expect for people in terms of like society to look at me differently because of who my spouse is, which is really, it makes me sad because I feel like sometimes people, when they meet me, they see me one way, and then when they meet Dayon, because he's good looking, I feel like because he is Caucasian, they place my value in him, and it's just disheartening. But I'm just like, you know what? She is beauty, she is grace, she is fierce, all in the face. Nope, tried it, but didn't work. Confident enough within myself now to just like write it off because I know I'm my own person. But that's definitely something personal to me that's different than what I expected in this marriage. Is that making sense? I feel like I might not be making sense. How do I get a boyfriend? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm the wrong person to ask, actually, because it's not like I've had hella dudes on my line, you know? Do people say that anymore? Like, hella dudes? Okay. Wow, this is how I know I'm getting older. If you're in the right space and mind to want to go ahead and date, like, you know, put yourself out there, have fun. There's so many, I mean, like, dating apps and stuff like that, but also, like, dive into activities that, you know, that you love to do that include you being social, so that way you can find a common ground with somebody and, you know, yeah.
Fuck.
How do you maintain your individuality so that you are not lost in a relationship? Have your own separate thing. Like, have your own, like, set of friends. Like, you guys don't have to share everything all the time, okay? Like, I have my YouTube. Dan has a soccer. Sometimes do they commingle? Yes. But it's like, I'm not with him all the time. I'm not consumed with him, and he's not totally consumed with me. He has his friends. I have my friends. We can be friends. But have your own separate thing, because then you at least have something to like talk about. Like, Dan can ask me, how's YouTube going? And he's like, how's soccer going? You know, like, we can have conversaciones. You know, just have your own separate thing. And do we have mutual friends? Absolutely. But it's like, to be consumed with someone 24/7, I feel like would be exhausting. Like, I hate that kind of relationship. At least for me, it doesn't work out. But I feel like in maintaining your individuality, do your own thing, have your own fun, you know? How did you know he was the one? I knew he was the one when I felt like he honestly reminds me so much of my mom. My mom gives me unconditional love. She makes me feel safe, and obviously I love her. Mom, if you're watching this, I love you, girl. There's also some unspoken like chemistry. It's hard to explain, but I feel like we just click. Like, we just, like, we are, like, here. Like, even Dan says it himself. Like, there's just something that just makes sense about us. Like, we're here. Like, Dan, if this was Dan, we'd be, like, right here. It just, you know? How do you handle arguments or disagreements? We communicate respectively with each other. Do we get into arguments? Of course, we're a normal couple, but we communicate respectively and we try to hear the other person out. And sometimes, honestly, we agree to disagree and we keep it moving. I am a big believer in, if you communicate your feelings respectively, things should be able to get through. We definitely do not condone actively being mean and having arguments for argument's sake to hurt each other's feelings. Like, that's like a no in this household, because it's not productive. We're not gonna get anywhere. And you know what? If the argument gets too heated, sometimes you just need to walk away, take a breather, come back and revisit the conversation when everybody has woosawed a little bit, you know? Do you have a preference when it comes to the race of the person you date? Is Dan your first white partner? Whoa, you guys did not hold back. Dan is my first white partner. You know, I mean, I've only ever had one other relationship for 5 years. I don't count like high school, middle school. I mean, no one really wanted me in high school or middle school, so there's that. But also, like, in between, there were a couple guys in different occasions that I was getting to know. Didn't end up well because they were just horrible people, but I digress. I do not have a preference. Okay, so somebody actually DM'd me on Instagram asking me if black women prefer white men, and I was just like, that really made my heart hurt, because I feel like in terms of having a preference, if you prefer somebody who's tall, somebody who's brunette or blonde or has short hair and long hair, I feel like that's different. If you have a preference in terms of race, I feel like that limits you to great possible people, opportunities, and cultures, and it is just so maddening when people are like, oh, I prefer Hispanics, I prefer white people, I prefer, like, you're closing yourself to an entire world of people, and that drives me insane. And honestly, that borders on like being prejudiced and discrimination, and we're just not here for that. Like, no, you love who you love. Like, for me, it's like, if you're a good human being and I'm attracted to you, we here. we here. Do you believe in zodiac compatibility? Are you and your husband considered zodiac compatible? Well, Jen, my girl, asked this question, so I must answer. I believe in it to a certain extent. I don't think it's 100% true. Dan and I are both Tauruses. My birthday's May 10th. His is May 12th. Can't wait to celebrate in quarantine. Why am I doing the nay-nay? Nobody does that anymore. My ex of 5 years who constantly cheated and lied to me, amongst other things, was also a Taurus, and we were not compatible. I think it's interesting. I love reading about it, but like I like to take it not with a grain of salt, but just I take it lightly, because at the end of the day I think it's down to the person and who they are is what makes you compatible. Your opinion on love. It's a beautiful thing, it's a blessing, especially when it's with the right one. When it's with the right one, then it's worth it. It's worth it. What do you think of taking a break in a relationship? I think sometimes it's necessary, but in order for it to not get messy, set up clear grounds and rules, and if both parties are willing to listen, sure. I think sometimes you just need to like separate and not be clouded by each other and the outside world, but make sure you have like guidelines and rules, like, okay, we're taking a break, but we cannot hook up or talk to other people, and you know, take it from there. How does it feel like being a young married couple? Honestly, I feel like it's awesome. Like, again, especially if it's with the right one, I feel like Dan and I are really able to see each other grow. Like, it's already been like 3 years of marriage, and I feel like I've grown a lot, and Dan was able to witness that and be a part of that journey, and vice versa. And I feel like when we're 70, like, and he has lost all his teeth and he's wearing dentures and I still look the same, I just feel like it would be awesome to look back and be like, dude, look at where we started and look at where we're at now. I think it'll be so amazing. I don't know, just thinking about it, thinking of us being old just makes me, and it's cute. I don't know. How did you learn to trust again after your last relationship? Good Lord, did it take some time? Absolutely it did. I'm not gonna lie to you, after my breakup I felt like I met Dan maybe like 1.5 years later, and did I still have trust issues? Hell yeah. I mean, for those of you who don't know, my last relationship with him for 5 years was my first love, and it was a very destructive, tumultuous relationship. Like, every 5 seconds he was cheating. Like, if he wasn't cheating, I was more shocked that he was being loyal for the week that he was being loyal. And, you know, I wasn't shocked when I would find him cheating. With Dan, he hasn't given me any reason whatsoever to not trust him. And, like, did I have trust issues? Of course, but I also realized I couldn't punish Dan for something that he didn't do for the actions of somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I also knew if I went into this relationship with major trust issues, then I didn't need to be in that relationship. I needed to work on myself, and that's what I did. I took some, after the relationship, I did take some time to work on myself a little bit. Was it hard? Yes. Was I dating a few people in between? Yes, and they were shitty people, which did not help with my trust issues. But I think also because I realized that Dan was very serious about me and I was very serious about him, and I didn't want to lose him. I really knew that, like, yo, like, this whole not trusting and being insecure and all this stuff, like, that cannot be in this relationship, because you're gonna end up ruining a good thing for yourself, Slim. I, like, literally had to sit myself down and be like, you cannot punish this really great man who's willing to love you and be there for you because of the mistake of somebody else. I would have lost out on a great love and a great life, and he would have lost out on all of this. And do we really want a world where Dan and Slim are not together? I don't think so. I don't think so. The world will be a very hard and sad place, and it already is kind of a hard and sad place with what's going on. Anyways, do you ever get tired of how good looking Dan is? Am I aware of how handsome he is? Absolutely. However, like, what attracts me the most is his personality. He's a really good person, which honestly is what made me fall for him. So I don't get tired of how he looks, but how he is and who he is as a person is a lot more important than how he looks. Like, if he looks how he looks and he was a shitty person, there would be no relationship, okay? But it is kind of annoying when I wake up in the morning and my bonnet is sliding off and I have like hot morning breath and I look over and he's there like literally sleeping perfectly with his model face and his hair and shit. Like, it's just really, really annoying. Do you know what it feels like to have those piercing green, gray, whatever color his eyes decide to be in the morning just look at you and you can feel that you are not exactly the sexiest when you wake up? Like, it just, yeah. All right, I think that concludes, you know, the questions that you guys asked. I hope it was helpful. Like I said before, I am not a licensed therapist, okay? So don't come for me. And I hope my advice helps you guys. I feel like in terms of my relationship, I have a very healthy one and I'm really blessed and I'm really happy. And if I could share my perspective with you guys, why not? And I'm very honored that you guys even trust me, because what am I tucking behind my ears? I hate, okay, anyways, I'm just glad I got to share my perspective with you guys. I feel like I've come a long way relationship wise. Thank you guys so much for asking those questions. Hopefully I helped. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Turn on your post notification post so you know when I'm posting. Also follow me on the gram. You message me, I reply to your messages. Some of you are actually shocked that I reply. Like, why would I not reply? Anyways, thank you guys so much. Make sure you're staying safe and sane, and I love you all so much. Peace.
Like who you, yeah, there's something you get used to, yeah. Go back to June blues, yeah. It's just the June blues, yeah. Walk around like who you, yeah, just something you get used to. Breaking news got me breaking. I was present, hopeless, praying. Struck down at 20, plenty left to put behind you. You ain't peaked, death was speaking, now they speaking about you, leave it alone. Hope you grinning.